Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, That Model Railway Guy, for another 009 locomotive review. Now, last time I took a look at the new Quarry Hunslet from Bachmann, and I teased that I might do a video on one of the open cab variants too. So, as you can see today, I've gone and picked up Nesta, which is indeed one of those versions. So let's take a look at the specs for this model. This time it's in the lined black livery, and as I literally just said, this is Nesta, which is one of the open cab versions of the Quarry Hunslet. As before, we have a 6-pin DCC decoder socket, but remember that only the very smallest micro decoders will be able to fit inside these engines. We do have a slightly lower price on the open cab version though, which is nice. So the RRP for these comes in at £139.95, while at the retailers you're looking to pay around £118.95, which is what I paid for mine. Although, be aware that these seem to have been very popular, so you might struggle to find any now. So let's take a look at Nesta, which I believe is in a variation of the Penryn Quarry lined black livery. We have this really nice blue and red lining on both the saddle tank and of course on the side of the cab too. In addition to this, we also have the nameplate on the main body, which is printed nice and clearly, along with the builder's plate on the cab side too. And as before with the closed cab version, etched versions of both of these are included in the detail bag too. The springs have been nicely picked out in red too, and they really stand out. I don't know if that's just part of the livery or was for a more practical reason, but I really like them. We do have some nice additional pipework on this particular model too, and in fact you can see that there's even more round on the other side of the model too. This tiny pipe in particular that runs down to the smoke box is really very fine, and it's nicely painted too. In addition to this, there's also the reversing rod and other levers from the cab too, which have been included. Looking at the front of the loco, this is a bit Spartan in comparison to Britomart, but that's obviously a reflection on the differences between the prototypes rather than any failing on Bachmann's part. We do have a nice separately fitted dart, but as far as I can see there's no lamp brackets or a brake pipe, which I suppose makes sense given that these spent most of their lives shuffling slate wagons around. We do have a nice deep buffer beam this time though, which again has some nice rivet detailing on it. There's a cutout for the central buffer to poke through, which again, as with most 009 locos, also serves as the coupling hook. It's not sprung, but it does have that same side-to-side play, which I found very useful on Britomart for allowing it to pull trains around the tight curves on my layout. Above the smoke box, we also have a nice handrail which runs all the way around the front of the loco towards the cab. Additionally, there are brackets on top of the tank for holding fire irons and shovels, and as with the etched plates, these are included in the detail pack too. Now we come to what everyone really wants to see though, and that is the cab. With this being open, for once it's easy to get a nice shot to show you all of the detail inside there, and what a cab this is. You can see we've got loads of really fine, separately fitted detail parts, with the regulator being picked out in silver and red. And then the gauge even has printing on it too, which with such an exposed cab like this is really appreciated. So yeah, top marks for Bachmann there. It looks fantastic and really adds a lot to the model, and just goes to show that even though these 009 locos are expensive considering their size, Bachmann makes it worthwhile by providing as much detail as they can. And just because I forgot to mention it before, we do have silver painted handrails on the cab sides. I don't know if they were this chunky in real life, or if these would have perhaps been better made from wire instead, but that really is a minor little issue as far as I'm concerned, and it certainly doesn't detract from the rest of the model. Round the back we have more of that nice red and blue lining, which again frames those doors. Last time I think I speculated that this might be for accessing a wagon that was filled with coal as a makeshift tender, but I've since been informed that it was most likely because the cabs were so small that the firemen couldn't actually get the shovel into the firebox because the handle would hit the back of the cab. So yeah, thanks to everybody who let me know that, and it just goes to show how small these locos are even in real life. I think we've covered all of the detail then, and like Britomart before, Nesta is a really good looking loco with some nice variation, especially that open cab. But I did have some trouble with the running qualities on the closed cab Hunslet, so I'm interested to see if this version has the same issues or if that was just a one-off. So again, I've got my little test track set up to show off the open cab Hunslet's running capabilities. As I turn the power up, Nesta does seem to be a little bit inconsistent at slow speeds and can occasionally be a bit lumpy, but it doesn't seem quite as smooth as it could be. I should say as well that this loco has been running for a decent amount of time in both directions, over an hour I think at this point, and again I'm running on analog using a GaugeMaster Model D controller. Again, it feels like the slow speed on this model can't really be accessed and it just jumps into action, otherwise you're constantly in danger of it stalling. I mean, when it gets up to a bit of speed, it's a beautiful smooth runner, but it does generally seem that these Quarry Hunslets from Bachmann don't live up to the slow speed reputation of their other 009 locos, unless in both cases I've just been very unlucky. Perhaps it's just down to the nature of these small locos and the tiny motors that power them, or maybe it's simply just a weight issue and there's not enough mass to stop the loco from stalling. So the next thing I normally do in these reviews is try the loco out on my loud, but this time I'm going to fit a DCC decoder to see if that makes any difference to the running. So with the DCC decoder now installed, Nesta seems a lot happier running at slow speeds and is doing a great job of shunting these wagons around. Although usually I tend to take the position that adding a decoder isn't likely to drastically improve performance in a model, it certainly seems to have made a difference here, and I'm much happier with how the Quarry Hunslet is performing. Additionally, I did also try adding the same decoder to Britomart, my closed cab model as well, and it resolved most of the issues on that as well, so it does seem as if these tiny locos do respond much better on digital control than on analog. That's not going to be much use for those running on normal DC power, of course, but for those who do use DCC, it's worth trying your model out with a decoder before making a decision if you are worried about this. Looks-wise though, the Quarry Hunslet is a fantastic loco from Bachmann, and they really have to be commended for that. It was a fantastic decision to tool up both closed and open cab versions, and I'm certainly very glad that they did, as Nesta looks absolutely stunning running around Goverton with a few slate wagons in tow. Bachmann have been doing a great job of building their 009 range recently and are really flying the flag for narrow gauge modelers at the moment. We've never been so spoilt for choice in this scale, and I think a huge amount of credit has to go to Bachmann for creating such high quality ready to run models that have allowed even people like me to get into 009. At the end of the day though, smaller models like the Quarry Hunslet are always going to be a little bit more temperamental than larger locos such as the double fairleys. Obviously you have less weight, fewer pickups, smaller motors, and all that is going to play a part in how well the model performs. Like I said earlier, if you are running on analog, then I think that is definitely something to be aware of, and in my opinion you would be better off heading to an actual model shop to test a loco in person before taking it home. That said, at this point you may struggle to find any of these left, as the Quarry Hunslets do seem to have been very popular, and it's easy to see why. I think in my previous review of the closed cab Britomart, I likened these to the Hornby Peckets. They're small industrial locos, they look cute and they can fit on any kind of layout, and most importantly, they come in a variety of nice liveries. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Bachmann are now working hard on a brand new set featuring some different liveries, and I think a lot of people will be willing to add a few more of these to their growing 009 collections. So that's it for today. I do hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and let me know your thoughts on the 009 Quarry Hunslet in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe too, but for now, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!